Welcome back, AIM 9 Guy here. Today we take the next steps towards completing the backdating of the Airfix 1/48 scale Westland Lynx to a Gulf War Lynx from Operation Granby. In this video, we'll finish the interior cockpit, prime and paint the fuselage, attempt some hairspray chipping, and create and apply some custom decals. There's a lot to cover, so let's get started. We begin with the overhead consoles and tow sight system. Most of this area is unseen, but I want to add some coiled wires that hang down from the handheld torches that are attached to the upper console. It's hard to see in the video, but I also added the engine throttle handles to add a little more detail. The tinting was completed with light coats of Tamiya transparent blue. Spraying a light coat, letting it dry, then adding another. If you apply this coat too heavy, it pools in the window and the tint will look uneven. Ask me how I know. With the canopies, masks, and the seams addressed, it was time for primer. I decided on Tamiya Black again as I like the even flat coat it provides and it dries quickly. I found a few places I still wasn't happy with and ended up reapplying it after more seam cleanup. The main window fit was problematic as it had a gap either at the top or bottom. I made a shim of thin plastic and attached it at the bottom, but still ended up with some seams to address along the top. The Airfix kit features a lot of surface detail, and so I was careful with the primer not to flood it or obscure any of the detail that was on the surface. Once the main paint is on top of this, it should really look nice. I elected to paint the white stripes first and mask them. I used Tamiya white and a drop or two of deck tan to make it a little less stark. If you notice the green there, that was an attempt to pre-paint some green paint and do some chipping to allow it to show through. It didn't go as planned. More on that later. Let's start the camo. A word about the paint. I first mixed a combination of Vallejo air colors but was unhappy with the application. I live along the American Gulf Coast, so humidity is ever present, and the day I was spraying the camo, it was especially soupy. After being unhappy with the results of the first section of spray, I switched back to Tamiya paint. I can't provide the exact breakdown, but if you're trying to paint your own, reach out to me in the comments and I'll try to get some paint mixtures for you. The Tamiya paint's laid down much better. I apply them in thin layers, building up as I go along. And when painting around the masking, I try to pay attention to the angle of the paint, staying perpendicular to the tape to avoid overspray. Next is the desert pink color. I'm using silly putty to create the edges. This will create a hard edge that has a little softness to it and it doesn't leave any residue. I use Frog brand tape, like the Tamiya tape, over the rest to prevent overspray. My pressure's set at about 17 pounds. I can't stress enough about being relaxed and not rushing this stage. It's easy to get in a hurry when you're airbrushing, but spray, take a look at it, adjust, and spray some more. Okay, some adventures in hairspray chipping. I don't use the effect too often because I need more practice and the effect is unpredictable for me. I normally decant some regular aerosol hairspray into a dropper bottle and apply it in the airbrush. This is applied with a couple light coats, and once dry, I spray the fuselage, or in this case the landing skid, with the main color over it. Once the paint is dry, I apply some water over the acrylic paint and then begin to carefully scrape the surface, revealing the green underneath. On the fuselage, I applied it too heavy and it didn't work, but on the skids, it worked enough for the effect. Anyone that has any tips on this technique, give me a shout. Here I'm spraying the haystack exhaust shrouds. Onto the decals. The subject I'm doing was not included in the kit, and in fact I'll probably only use the Randalls from the kit supplied decal sheet. That requires me to create my own. I took scans of the images from the internet and made sure to size them to match what I needed. A tip here: whatever software you use, make sure to keep the file size the same and trade dimensions for resolution. If you resample the image down, it will digitize and be unusable. A good printable resolution for a home printer is like 400 to 600 dpi. Remember, these images are really small once printed, so I need them to stay as sharp as possible so they don't look fuzzy. I boosted the contrast, sharpened the images, and boosted the color. I need all the help I can get as I'm using transparent inks to print these. Let's talk about decals a second. Decals are inks printed on clear film in layers usually light to dark. With clear decal film, anything light or white comes out clear, so you have to figure out how to make the whites work. I had two options. One, I could print out on white decal paper, or two, paint the model white where the decal's going to go, then carefully paint around the decal in the fuselage color once it's applied. I actually chose a third option. Anything that didn't require white, I printed normally. Anything that required white background, I printed on a sheet of clear decal paper that I pre-painted the white on. I painted a square of Tamiya white real lightly, and then made sure the printer printed on those areas on the decal paper. The other thing I did was for the tail lettering. I tried to match the fuselage color in the computer and place white lettering on top of it. By the way, if you're interested, the font is called RAF_PW_ATH, and it's a TrueType font you can find online. I printed it out on the pre-painted white sheet. The decal paper is Koala Waterslide inkjet paper I found on Amazon. If you get some of the tester's paper or some smaller sheets, you can carefully tape them on a normal sheet of paper and run them through your printer. Once printed, these decals are very fragile. Overspray them with a light coat of clear varnish. I used my Liquitex varnish like I use on my models and applied it with an airbrush and a couple light coats. Be sure and let this dry overnight. If not, when you dip the decals in the water, the ink will wash away. Also keep everything light. Heavy coats means thick decals, which ruin the effect. Remember when cutting the decals off the sheet that you're conscious of the clear film that remains. Here's a tip. Take a sharp blade and lightly cut the outline you want from the decal. Then make a deeper cut into the decal paper away from the artwork. Once the decal paper softens, you can peel away the excess film and carefully take the trim decal and apply it to the model. Once applied, these decals will work like any other decal and you can use light setting solution on it. The Walther's Solvaset I use works fine. As always, test it out on a paint mule first. I wasn't happy with the initial decals on the badges and the nose art. Since I had clear versions, I applied them over the initial decals and really liked the effect. I will touch these up with a little detail painting once they're dry. So that about covers this update. We're getting close, folks. I've built the rotors, tow racks, and I'm getting ready to start weathering, but that's for the next video. I'm trying to get these out fairly quickly, and I post on weekends, so check back often. I want to thank everyone for the positive response I've received and encourage you to leave a comment and let me know how I'm doing. Also, let me know what you'd like to see built. I have a few different subjects in the queue, and I look forward to sharing them with you. If you're new to my channel, please like and subscribe and feel free to watch some of my previous videos. I hope these videos are informative and a little entertaining. I look forward to sharing the conclusion of this series with you, and as always, thanks for watching.